Wait, remember Oban Star Racers? You know what's better than the Eiffel Tower? Oban Star Racers. And let me tell you why. It was created, written, and directed by Savin Yeatman Eiffel. And he's literally the great-great-great-grandson of Gustave Eiffel, the architect of the Eiffel Tower. Yeatman Eiffel created Oban Star Racers, premiering it in 2006. It was a French, Japanese, and English anime that follows the action-packed hero's journey of a young speed demon, Ava, in an intergalactic race for a very substantial and highly sought-after reward. With a tragic backstory resulting in her mother's untimely death, Ava is left to the hands of a cruel boarding school after her dad decides to abandon her in his shared grief for the loss of his wife. The first episode starts off with Ava escaping the boarding school and searching for her father. Eventually, she ends up working for him under the alias of Molly, as she is too nervous to tell him who she actually is. Under the watchful eye of her father, famous racing manager Don Way, Ava must fight for both her father's respect as well as the fate of planet Earth, including all of its population. Quite a lot of weight on her shoulders. I love sci-fi, and I haven't been shy about that here on the channel at all. So this show has always left a nice little wait, remember on my heart ever since it came out. So drivers, welcome to 2082. Start your engines and enjoy as we deep dive into this memorable series.
Here's our big moment. Shake a leg, Molly.
Yeah, it was good to see you too.
Oban Star Racers was initially created as a short animated film, with a runtime of about 2 or so minutes, titled Molly Star Racer. It's really more of a music video or anime opening more so than a short, but it gives off that AMV vibes of the early days of YouTube. Just, you know, before YouTube was ever a thing yet. It showcases the characters, technology, and worlds that they explore in this futuristic concept. Created in 2001, the short was very successful. Like, we're talking view numbers in the 6 digits. Again, before YouTube. And it even won the London Animation and Effects Festival Award, as well as a nomination for Best Editing at the 2002 Imagina Awards, which kickstarted its production and success as a standalone television series. By itself, Oban Star Racers won many awards as well, being fairly highly rated across all boards for an animated series. The time in between the 2001 short film and the release of the series is attributed to the difficulty Yeatman Eiffel had while financing the project with different corporate companies, and their very strict artistic differences. It took him 9 years from the series concept in 1997 to its last episode in 2006. Eventually, he had to give in to corporations like Disney and Bandai, but managed to keep a lot of the artistic control of the series as a whole. The partnership between a French production studio and a Japanese animation studio was seemingly unlikely and uncommon at the time, and initially, the idea Yeatman Eiffel had pitched was not fully understood. But after the success of the short film in 2001, as well as the recent worldwide obsession that the Japanese franchise Pokemon was receiving at the time, adding to that the growing spread of anime across the world, the show was much more heavily marketable and desirable to an executive audience. Yeatman Eiffel's love for classic anime and the push he gave to fight for having this to be as close to his original vision as possible is admirable beyond belief. Sticking to a traditional 2D animation style instead of going with the 3D look was not an easy concept to convince for a project like this, especially as 3D animation was starting to take over more and more. On top of that, fighting to keep Ava as a girl rather than the studios pushing back against that to have her character change to be a boy to fit the perception of their network's audience.
It was truly a splendid race!
We'll be right back to Oban Star Racers on Jetix. Now, back to Oban Star Racers on Jetix.
Ava is our main protagonist, voiced by Chiara Zani. She is a young 15-year-old girl with face tattoos, piercings, and has a head of red and black dip-dyed hair. As we established earlier, she breaks out of her boarding school and escapes with her father to an off-world interplanetary interspecies race for the biggest award in all of the galaxies. Ava, or Molly if you will, is a headstrong and naturally gifted star racer, but she initially didn't join the team under that title. In fact, as a stowaway in their space travel to the initial pre-selections. Don Way was satisfied with giving her the job of backup mechanic as she seemed to have superior knowledge of Star Racers. That is until their Star Racer Rick Thunderbolt, yeah, that's his real name, wipes out in the first race and with sustained injuries is unable to represent Earth in the future races. With literally no other option, and I mean no other option, Molly takes the place as their pilot, and Don Way was really alphaed by his daughter because he didn't really end up getting much of a say in the matter. He's just, forced to accept that. After learning of the ultimate prize as well as Earth's fate, should such power fall into the wrong hands, he is forced to let Molly have her way with the race and the competition. Don Way, played by Ron Halder, is an abrasive old man who, in the beginning of the series, can't seem to make a good decision to save his life. Initially, he doesn't want Molly to pilot because, well, as he put it,
You know perfectly well how I feel about female pilots.
which initially I was like, alright, hold up. But as we learn later on that his wife, Eva's mother, was one of the best star racers, but she died tragically in a racing incident. So it's probably residual trauma from that, so it's hard to get mad at him for any of this, I guess. Still though, come on. Molly acts as a typical rebellious daughter figure, and the two enter a very archetypal groove of a father-daughter relationship. Despite Molly's hatred toward Don and Don's frustration with her, not knowing who she truly is, they both seem to act like they have never spent a day apart. The two of them have enough angst for the entire series as a whole, just between the both of them. And their negative feelings on both sides actually accent their bond and likeness as father and daughter. They are too similar in so many ways, and on top of that, Molly also shows the same attitudes that Maya, her mother, did. This sets off many alarm bells in Don Way's head throughout the show, as he reflects on his relationship with his family onto her, often leading to him having difficulty acknowledging when she's right or when she has done a good job. The words, "I'm proud of you," don't seem to exist in his lexicon. Nor my parents. I talk about cartoons on the internet, people. Other characters include Rick Thunderbolt, the original Star Racer sent to represent Earth, voiced by Michael Dobson. In the first half of the series, he becomes a mentor and the only positive older male figure in Molly's life that we know of. He is super cool and mysterious with various tattoos and sunglasses, got long hair, and not to mention his cool way of speaking.
So, I heard you kept my seat warm.
Jordan, no, not me, is Molly's co-pilot. But instead of the steering wheel, he has the big blasters. Because in the Great Race of Oban, you're allowed to fight dirty. And he is voiced by Sam Vincent. The host of the race, the Avatar, mentions that as long as you don't show intent to kill another racer, that violence is allowed. Molly and Jordan bond as teammates and become close, and did they just throw romantic feelings in here too? Anyway, the two of them have to learn to work together, being the team out on the field, bringing home the bacon and all. Then we have the love interest that Molly seems to be more involved with. Prince Ika of Norasia, voiced by Kirby Morrow, is a young, dashing, and charismatic prince from another planet who sweeps Molly off of her feet and has a bit of a rocky time finding his standing with Molly. From friend to rival to enemy to rival to enemy, back to friend, then to a rival again, and whew, this is exhausting. But I guess that's what chemistry just looks like. The final two characters in the series are the two mechanics Stan and Koji, two polar opposite yet essential members of the team. No, literally, Molly totaled their ship called the Arrow, and the two of them had it up and running like brand new and only 2 days later? It takes 4 men to change a tire in NASCAR. Give these two a raise. They're voiced by Dexter Bell and Alessandro Giuliani. The show captures a real sense of character, not shying away from deeper and darker undertones, emotional relationships, and more. The designs of the ships, characters, and the world play a major part of what makes this show so special. Yeatman Eiffel wasn't the only director here. In fact, the other person who would jump in those shoes is also the one responsible for the overall look of the characters, Thomas Romaine. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because he's responsible for creating Code Lyoko, a show I am covering very soon. I know I get asked about it a lot. I'm working on something very special for it, so don't worry, it's coming soon. But back to what I was saying, you can clearly see his work between the shows have a bit of similarity. I think that's a cool little fact that adds some more fun to the production of the show.
What are you waiting for? We have a race!
Oban Star Racers. Weekends on
JetX!
Let's see what she's got.
The show premiered on the Jetix block of Toon Disney and ABC on Monday, June 5th, 2006, and aired for a complete series of 26 total episodes in one whole season. And boy, oh boy, is it a beefy season. All in all, the story focuses on them roughing out the emotional bumps and forming a team with trust between each member, the most taxing relationship obviously being between Molly and Don. Each episode holds something new, a new lesson that each character needs to learn, or a new understanding that is made between characters. It flows fairly well and doesn't seem to become too repetitive or uneven in pace. Oban Star Racers seems to have a great narrative flow and balance between racing content and content off the tracks. It follows an overarching theme and progresses to its suspenseful reveal nicely. The emphasis on character backgrounds and relationships is always something anime tries to accomplish, and this show did it right, allowing each character to have depth and room to grow. This in turn made me more invested in the series and raised the stakes for the final few episodes. Not to mention, the world building is incredible and reminded me a lot of the environments that Avatar: The Last Airbender was able to create, and that's a huge compliment. I really appreciated that we were given the time to look at the different planets and locations the Earth team was able to travel to. The art style is also incredibly beautiful. The characters are drawn heavily stylized with no pupils or evident noses, which came about after having drawn so many alien-style concepts over time. The artistic team wanted to create a unique style that was heavily anime, but also something individual to their production. Yeatman Eiffel actually wasn't particularly looking to create anime in his work initially. Early in his career, he attended a film school in London and interned with an animation studio in Paris, where he found himself frustrated in the process of editing scripts. He found that they were all lacking a certain emotional or thoughtfulness to them. Having been put through the corporate ringer, he was really craving that certain style that Japanese anime offered in terms of storytelling. Specifically, he was inspired by the shows that slapped his generation in the face in the mid-1970s. They contained emotional stakes and heavy drama that made animation impactful and memorable. He decided to lean into that emotional side of production and embrace the storytelling aspect that so many anime are able to achieve. The series, in my opinion, told the story it set out to tell and told it to completion, but that only means that a potential sequel would benefit from focusing on another story in the beautiful universe of planets that Oban Star Racers has established. Although there is no confirmed sequel or spin-off, it definitely would have a market to do so. In fact, it has been teased. In 2017, Yeatman Eiffel announced on Twitter that they were working on a potential spin-off series, along with some pretty beautiful and enticing art. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks great, but it's obviously been a few years since then, so it may have been placed on the back burner for right now. But the original creators and Yeatman Eiffel were on board for workshopping ideas and creating concept art, so who knows, we may get more of this in the future. Along with the announcement of a potential sequel, Yeatman Eiffel has also been promoting a Kickstarter for a 15-year anniversary Blu-ray release of the series, with bonus background music tracks, different dubs, basically all the content you could want packaged together. It seemed to be pretty successful, racking in just over 370,000 euros. As it was just recently completed in February of 2022, we can probably expect the 15th anniversary Blu-ray to be in production soon. In addition, there was a multiplayer Flash game created by Little Loud in 2006, and then later a mobile game was created by Diwali Entertainment and produced by Yeatman Eiffel's company Solve the World. There was also whispers of a Nintendo DS game in production, but that was also rumored to have been canceled for artistic differences, so let's just chalk that one up to a rumor. And lastly, there was a game titled Oban Dream created for the PS4 and available for access within the Dreams game creation system by Sky Isle Studios. Along with games, there was a bit of merchandise released surrounding the series, including a Molly Mutt Pop collectible figurine and an art book that was released in March of 2009. It goes over a lot of the concept design, pre-production, and world building that a viewer may have missed in watching the series. The show today is remembered very fondly and sports quite high ratings on sites like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, which is impressive considering cartoons tend to get harsher ratings, but I'm not surprised in the least. The show itself is easily one of the classics that I can find myself rewatching every 2 to 3 years, like I do with Avatar: The Last Airbender. It has something special in it, and I think it's the passion put into each layer of it, ending on a true note of self-discovery, knowing who you are and not regretting the journey that got you there. But what do you think of the series? What would you like to see in a potential sequel? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this, or I'll steal your toothbrush and let's be honest, you're not using it anyway. You nasty. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll be back with another video soon, but until then, later.